Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the Village of Saxtons River Trustees meeting.
Okay, it looks like 7 o'clock. So I will call the meeting of the Saxtons River Village Trustees to order. It looks like we have a full slate of the board here tonight, and Rob Wheeler, our wastewater treatment operator. It's good to see Fact TV is on the call, and also Peter Bergstrom. Are there any adjustments to the agenda, things you'd like to make sure we address? I actually have two. I'd like to make sure we talk briefly about the annual meeting, and also, to my delight, the report from the municipal planning grant has come in. So I'll make a couple of remarks on that under committee updates, if that's all right with everyone. And I'm not sure we need any action. I just want an appropriate place to report on both of those. Public comment. So a Rockingham Select Board member wrote to me asking whether we might consider addressing the issue raised on Facebook about having some sort of dog feces container in Saxtons River. Would you like that on agenda?
Is this public comment, or should be?
This is public comment. Somebody commented to me, and I'm asking whether it's worthy of mention in a future board meeting.
Sure.
Yes?
Yeah, I agree. I thought I was thinking about it myself.
Okay. Good. Any other public comments? Hearing none, we move on to the walk bike enhancements. And Peter Bergstrom, you have the floor.
That was fast. I just wanted to, I don't have a specific proposal, but I wanted to bring up some of the things we've been talking about. I joined the walk bike committee last year, shortly after it was formed. And it's for the whole town of Rockingham, but of course, a lot of our work focuses on Bellows Falls and also to some extent Saxtons River, because we have the sidewalks. One of the things we've talked about is enhancements for bicycling. It turns out that even though the main street in the village is very wide, some places it's over 50 feet, it's still not wide enough if we wanted to add bike lanes unless we changed from diagonal to parallel parking. And I know that's a very controversial topic, but I'm not saying we should do that. I'm just saying that if we wanted to have bike lanes on Main Street, we'd have to switch to parallel parking. We've been working with Jonathan Weber, who's with Local Motion in Burlington, so they have a lot of experience with a lot of towns. And he said that even though the Main Street 121 outside of the village is too narrow for bike lanes, he said it would still be useful in the village, not only for bike safety, but also for, would tend to slow the traffic down. Whenever people see a change in the road, they tend to take their foot off the gas. So that would be one advantage of having the bike lanes. I think changing to parallel parking would also improve pedestrian safety. I don't know how many of you have tried use the crosswalk at Academy Avenue, but when you're coming out on the north side next to the diagonal parking, you can't really see anything of oncoming traffic from the east. You just have to sort of hope that they're loud so that you can hear them. It is a hazard. And of course, as in Bellows Falls, several of the parking spaces are too close to the crosswalk. They're supposed to be 20 feet away. But Bellows Falls has the same problem. So those, we're going to experiment in Bellows Falls with a kind of a pop-up crosswalk. I know that that sounds insane, but Local Motion has done this in other towns. They use temporary paint and they put up temporary markers and they see what would happen if we put a crosswalk. In this case, it's going to go from the Dairy Joy parking lot at Green Street across Rockingham Street to the east side where there's a sidewalk, but you can't really get to it. So we're gonna see how that flies. So things like that to try to make our villages more pedestrian friendly are a lot of what we're working on.
Questions for Peter? Matt?
I'm not in favor of any of that. The parallel parking, I don't know if they're going to change that in Bellows Falls. I've lived in town here since 1981. I can't remember of anyone being struck by a car on the crosswalks. I raised two kids, or helped to raise two kids, and we rode our bikes around. And I think that it's not the place for it. You're talking about a short section of 121, changing all the parking, which is all the municipal parking we have here in the village. We've already lost a few parking spaces because the lines were changed by the village market. I understand your concerns about crosswalks, but I don't think pedestrians using a crosswalk or just line up and run across the road. Cars do stick out in front of the village market and other places, and typically what I do is walk to the end of the car and wait until people stop. People don't stop, even if you're out there. A lot of people do. Some people, 1, 2, 3 cars will go right across. But I have never been struck by a car or close at all. And I think disrupting the parking, which we would lose parking spaces. We have the inn is opening up again. Main Street Arts is going strong, and I don't see that changing, losing parking spaces, going to parallel parking, and putting in a bike lane just on this section of Main Street is the right thing to do.
And comments from Carl?
Well, I have a question about the width of Main Street where there's parallel parking already. Is there room for a bike lane there?
Jonathan said with parallel parking on both sides, there would be room for a bike lane, but not in the sections that have diagonal parking.
One bike lane or a bike lane on each side?
One on each side. Yeah.
But not room where the angle parking is.
No.
I'd love to support the idea because I think it would be great, but with so many businesses, new businesses coming into town, I just don't think we can lose the parking spaces.
I'm thinking too of where they are. So the spaces are right before you get to daycare pickup, where those 2 new businesses are, the 2 you mentioned, Ellen, Par 13 and Flying Crow Coffee, and the other side of the street at the Village Market. And those spots are often full. Main Street Arts serves both as parking for Main Street Arts and for the post office. And they're not as often full, but plenty of times I go through and there are no spaces there.
Mm-hmm.
So, other comments?
I really do love the idea. We just can't give up the spaces.
Yeah. I would agree that losing spaces is a real concern in those parts of the village. I agree with Amy. I've come by frequently and those diagonal spaces are full. And not, there are not a lot of parallel spaces, really.
Peter, are there other suggestions to make us friendlier to walkers and bikers?
That was the main ones we talked about. Others may come up, and I'll bring them up. I'll bring them up as they come up.
I am interested in the idea of temporary paint. I've seen studies that show that having something visual and I want to say alarming, but that isn't really what I mean, but something that alerts you when you come in, and I can show you pictures. It looks kind of psychedelic. And the suggestion is that that might happen around the post office, that has a tendency to slow people down. And if it's temporary, you can try it and get rid of it. So I, for one, will be very interested in what they discover at that crazy intersection between Dairy Joy and the east side of the road there. That's a scary place to cross.
Yeah. It's a little bit safer when the traffic backs up from the stop sign, but there's still traffic in the other direction.
Yeah. I know bigger cities do those flashing lights. The pedestrian has a button on either side.
Right.
When a pedestrian wants to cross, they push the button and the lights go on.
Yeah, but no, Bells Falls has added those at the intersection of School and Atkinson. And they would like to use more of them, but they're expensive. They're like $5,000 each.
Sure.
But they get the driver's attention.
Yeah. Any other comments for Peter before we move on? Things you want to know more about? If for anyone who's just joined us, this is the discussion of the walk bike enhancements to Main Street and Saxtons River. And it's Peter Bergstrom who's been presenting those. Okay. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Peter.
I saw the auditor's report is on the agenda too. I can stay on for that.
Would anyone object to considering the auditor's report now? All right, seeing no objection, why don't you have, we'd love to have you for the whole meeting, Peter. Don't let me chase you out, but it makes sense for you to talk about the auditor's report now. So go ahead. And
and it's so exciting. Nobody wants to miss it. Yeah, this year, Teresa Spear and I were the two auditors. There are supposed to be three, so we hope we can find a third one for the coming year. Teresa and I are both continuing. We found that the records were more incomplete than in past years, so we had a little trouble doing the audit as thoroughly as we would have liked to, but everything we could check seemed to be in order. And we had the village paid for us to watch auditor training put on by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, VLCT. So we got a lot of ideas about things we could do, and one of them is to consider consolidating some of the village accounts. We had 11 bank accounts. We closed one out, so we still have 10. That's a lot. And the VLCT recommends consolidating as much as possible. And so we had some ideas about how to do that, but we also suggested the village may want to pay an accountant or bookkeeper to design a more efficient and accountable system, because neither of us are accountants or bookkeepers. And I think that would be a great idea. And the other suggestions are in the audit report, but that was really the biggest one. The warrant system made it a little harder to track. I know you have to do it differently because you're meeting remotely, but basically the auditors need a paper trail of everything because, you know, we're not at the meeting, so we can't track that way. So as much as a paper trail can be generated, that's better for the auditors.
I attended Peter and Teresa's meeting on March 22nd, and I was very impressed with the list of suggestions for improvements. So one of the things that I've run by our current treasurer is having a written manual, which, you know, we might ask Sarah Campbell to contribute to, since she's had the experience of trying to understand our system. And she thought that was a great idea. And she also enthusiastically endorsed getting some professional help to streamline the accounts and set up the current software. We have new software and a new laptop to make sure. Teresa Spear sent me a recommendation for that work. Rockingham, you remember, had difficulties with their financial director, and they were able to call in their professional auditor who provided that service. So once we're through the village annual meeting, I might come back to you with a price schedule to, you know, I would talk to the person that was recommended and see what it would cost so we could go forward from there. Matt, I know you had some comments on the treasurer and our need for more help at the last meeting. Do you want to make any reference to those at this point? I saw you nodding when Peter was talking.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, things are not good and it needs to be consolidated. And yeah, we need to set things up so that Rob has a way of looking at the slips. So they're coming out of, they're being designated to the proper areas. And with QuickBooks and that we have and is not running, all this can be tracked. So we'll just have to put some time in, but definitely if we can't find someone that has bookkeeping skills to do QuickBooks and to keep things in line, then the village is going to have to hire you know, a CPA or somebody professionally to take care of this stuff, because we have spent the whole year wondering what is this and where is that and what's this charge for. And we haven't done that in years past. Yeah. And we shouldn't be doing that during the course of a meeting, wondering what is what. So.
Yeah, I think, Ellen, the system you've developed to send around the bills to people who are okaying them is working well, at least for me. It's easy to go back and find those documents and to see the past warrants. Do you want to make any comments?
You know, it is electronic. Because I scan the invoices and then I input them, and I think for me that system is working well, but I'm definitely not an accountant. I have no accounting background. It's just a system that I created and implemented for getting bills paid. So it's something that could fall under the umbrella of an accountant or bookkeeper who currently works for the town of Rockingham.
No, I wasn't suggesting that. It's just, I remember.
I'm sorry. I was also thinking about this as a train of thought too.
Yeah, you remember that they went through a dramatic change. It was discovered that their previous person hadn't been balancing the books appropriately, and they called someone in to give them professional advice. And I think based on the remarks that you have all made during these meetings, that's something we could do as well. It occurs to me that we have a couple of people here. So Paris Kern, I can see your name. Jeff, is it Jeff McClarty? Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that Carl had everyone's name as we go forward. You're all set, Carl?
Yep, so far.
Okay, good. Any other comments on the auditor's report? The report, of course, will be in the annual report, which is almost complete. I expect it to wrap up in the next couple of days, and that will be printed and available in the village at the Saxtons River Market and I don't know if there are any other places, but that's been the traditional one. Any other questions for our auditors? Okay, changes in property use. So this was a request to me to contact our zoning people about the new properties in town. So I wrote to Gary Fox, who, as you know, is both development and interim zoning at this point. And he wrote back that he would get to it in a couple of days, and I haven't heard from him. He did tell me that the responsibility in the case of a lease rests with the original use of the building. So I think we need to pursue this, but I don't have a response for you at this time. Any other questions? So I see both Carl and Matt. I'm going to call on Carl first.
Could you clarify what you mean about the responsibility resting with the first use? I don't quite understand.
So the owner of the building applies for zoning.
Yeah.
With a lease, there are new people who take it over. So it doesn't necessarily get examined unless there's an inquiry. That's my understanding of what Gary wrote to me very offhandedly in an email.
Okay, got it.
Matt?
So a couple questions. What is this deriving from anyways? Changes in property use. Where did that come?
You brought it up at the last meeting.
Okay. So
you asked about Par 13 in particular. Were they paying a sewer charge?
Right.
And
Par 13 and the coffee place.
Right.
What's that?
And those are the two properties that I specifically asked Gary Fox about. So he was going to look into those. So
this has been a problem in the past when anything goes through zoning in Rockingham. We very rarely do we get contacted. Back in the day when the Golden Egg was opening up and these different businesses were opening up, it was up to us to go, hey, there's a restaurant there now and they're just still paying one user fee. And so there's a lack of, if it's in Saxtons River proper, that one of the steps to open I'll use Par 13 or the coffee place, you need to contact the Village of Saxtons River regarding sewer fees. Obviously, most of you probably know, Bellows Falls and other municipalities that have water and sewer, there's meters on the building, so no matter what happens, they're getting a bill for what happens there, whether there's nobody there or a restaurant pops up, they get a bill. In Saxtons River, that's not the case. We need to be, we had not too many years ago, a new apartment open up, and lo and behold, we didn't get it. We had to go looking for, contacting the people that opened it up to say, hey, you need to be paying a user fee. Apartment here. So Par 13, and we have a formula for all of this, number of seats and hours and days open. And the same with the coffee place. They're obviously using water to clean things, so they're using the sewer plant. And everyone should be paying their fair share.
Carl, remind me, when do we typically set the sewer fees?
After we set the tax rate.
So during the summer?
During the summer, August typically.
So it's if I may.
Yep.
It's not like a year thing. If a new business opens up, then they need to start paying. It's not like, oh, we'll catch you next year. It's just like with the inn. The inn is, probably down to one user fee at this point. At some point, it's going to open up.
Oh, I don't think so. I think they've been paying their full share all through the pandemic.
And again, I'm not picking on anyone specifically. I'm just saying, there's everyone needs to help out.
Yeah.
I can make a comment on this. First of all, we only send out our practice has been only to look at the sewer fees once a year. Not a wise thing to do, but that's how we've done it. We haven't kept track of new places opening up because there haven't been that many.
Right. And it's not that we have to wait for the year to pass to bill somebody. If a business opens up, they need to be contacting the Village of Saxtons River to find out what their sewer fee is going to be. And the coffee place needs to be contacted, and so does Par 13. And it's just a cog in the wheel down at Rockingham that they don't say, hey, you need to contact them. If it was happening in Bellows Falls, you know that water and sewer would be hearing about it. We're just disconnected enough so that we lose on this unless someone says something. So
Now people do contact us if the use changes and they think their fees should be reduced.
yeah, but they don't say, hey, I'm opening a business and I'd like to pay my fair share. So
Yeah.
both those businesses need to be contacted.
I'm
I'm working on the zoning question first. If somebody else would like to take this on, I'd be happy to turn it back to you. It's Gary Fox who's the point person.
Okay, what's the zoning question? I don't understand that.
The zoning question is,
Yeah.
are these zoned commercial and what are they zoned for? Are they zoned for a public restroom? I don't think Flying Crow Coffee is. And if it's zoned commercial, does that automatically mean one sewer use, two sewer uses? I mean, obviously, if there were a brewery there, it would be a very different usage than a coffee place. I mean, breweries use tons of water.
Right.
The original question that was posed to me at the last meeting was, what is the zoning issues? How are these two businesses zoned? If I misunderstood, correct that now.
Was that me?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have said that, because where Par 13 was the village market back in the day, and it's been commercial. It's got two rentals above it. So two rentals are commercial. So that building is all commercial. The other one was a hardware store and it has a rental upstairs. So it's commercial.
So Carl, are those two properties?
I wouldn't have asked about that.
Carl, are those two properties on the sewer list, or is that a question for another time?
Well, I don't have the sewer list open in front of me, so I would defer that until another time.
Okay, I misunderstood, obviously, but let's not let this drop. I think that's the concern, that we make sure that people are notified that they owe us sewer fees if that's the case.
Yeah, I would say that we don't, as I recall, in the formula for setting fees, we've never considered something opening up halfway through the year. So we set fees based on a calendar year basis. That's how the formulas are set up. Not that that's difficult to change, but this is sort of new territory as far as our billing has gone. It would just involve a few tightenings of the system, which is probably a good idea.
So is this something you want me to follow up on? You want me to contact the owners of those two businesses? And
it sounds to me like we're not ready, but maybe we are.
Why would we not be ready?
So if a building is zoned commercial, is it based on the number of units?
So for the restaurant, the rate would depend on how many employees they have, full-time and part-time, for any business. And it would depend for the restaurant on how many seats they have for patrons. Those are the things that factor into the.
And whether they're open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, how many tables they have, how many seats they have. So it's relevant. I don't think we need to go reinvent the wheel here.
Nope, it's just.
It's just we have to, people need to pay to use the sewer plant or the wastewater treatment facility, and a year shouldn't go by that they're scot-free from using it.
So is the sense of the group that we should have Matt talk to the two business owners?
Sure.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, by consensus, Matt, thank you.
All right.
Anything else before we move on? Okay, we are up to finalizing the village 2023-2024 budget. And Carl, would you like me to give you permission to share the screen?
Oh, yeah, I guess I better.
Oh, hold on, I've forgotten how to do this. I think I need to make you the host.
Yes.
Okay, you should have the ability now to share your screen.
Okay. So you have all gotten copies of revised figures for both the wastewater treatment plant and village general account budgets. I will tell you why the numbers are different. In the case of the general account, Sarah has a couple times re-examined and recalculated the cash on hand, which doesn't affect how much we raise from taxes, but affects the total budget. And also is a number that she reports in her report, and I want to make sure that our budget and her report agree. So I am proposing to insert a revised statement, revised pages into the annual report. I've already sent the PDFs to Amy in the optimistic hope that we agree tonight. And I would like to move that we set a revised general fund budget of $68,232.24, of which $60,550 would be raised from taxes, the remainder from cash on hand.
And what's that do to our
Tax rate?
tax rate?
It won't affect the tax rate because the amount raised from taxes doesn't change. We had taken all the cash on hand and put it into the fire department capital reserve.
Mm-hmm.
So it affects the total budget. It affects how much goes into the fire department capital reserve. That's it. Doesn't affect the tax rate.
So do you need a motion to approve, or are we still discussing?
Well, I made a motion that's how we should set the budget. I'm waiting for a second.
I'll second that.
So Carl has moved to approve the general account financial report, July 1st, 2022 through February 6th, 2023, with the figures shown tonight, and Matt has seconded that motion. Is there discussion? So the main figure is the cash on hand change.
That's the reason for the change. Yes, this is the third or fourth calculation of cash on hand.
So remind me, what is the formula for cash on hand? The amount raised from taxes?
I'm not the treasurer, so I'm the wrong person to ask, but I believe that it is the income from taxes minus the expenses, actual expenses for the year for 2021 to 2022. So this was the amount we had collected the amount we had collected over what we had spent as of the end of last fiscal year. So it would be the surplus that we carried forward into this current year.
And it's a surplus of negative $1,039.61.
No, you're looking at the wrong column. Look at the last column.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Last year we ran a deficit, and so we had to raise more from taxes than our expenses. this year we are carrying forward a surplus of $7,600, roughly $7,700. So the amount that we're raising from taxes this coming year, would be about $1,100 more than we raised from taxes last year. So
what I don't understand is why you're directing me to look at the proposed budget for the cash on hand. My understanding was the cash on hand looked at the previous year.
no, that cash on hand is the amount is calculated as of July 1st, 2022. That's the way we do it. It's not the only way to do it, but that's the way we have done it. And if we want to change that.
No, I don't. I just want to understand what I'm seeing.
Okay, well, you know,
so the figure I'm looking at is the one that's under 2022 to 2023. But what you're telling me is that the figure that I should be looking at, the proposed figure, comes from the year previous to what I'm seeing in this proposed budget.
Under 2022, 2023, that cash on hand was the value that we used to set that budget. That was the cash on hand as of July 1st, 2021. That's the cash on hand from the end of the previous fiscal year.
Okay. And that's the same case with the cash on hand shown in the third column, the 2023-24 proposed budget. That represents, you just told me this, I'm sorry, I'm just repeating it. That 7,682 figure represents the cash on hand as of July 1st, 2022.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I've gone through all of the annual reports that I have copies of and looked, and that's the way it's been done through a couple of different people who calculated budgets and a couple of different treasurers. So
okay,
it's the way we've always done it. And I don't think it's the way we should continue to do it. I think that's a discussion that we should have when we have a new treasurer and we can talk about our finances in more detail. This is just simply following the formula that we've always used to set the budget.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor and we have a second. Are there any further questions? Questions from the board or questions from the public? I'm not seeing any hands. Are we ready for the vote?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are voting on the proposed budget for 2023 to 2024 as represented in the general account financial report. All those in favor, maybe you could go back to the stop sharing, just so I can see.
Okay, how do I do that?
Perfect, thank you. All those in favor of passing this motion signify with a show of hands. And that is unanimous.
Okay.
Sign.
Okay, now if you'll pardon me for just a moment. Okay, if you can make me the boss again.
You're still the co-host.
Oh, I am? Okay. All right. There's also a change in the wastewater treatment plant budget. And the reason this change is there was some confusion in our bond payment schedule. So it turns out, which I didn't realize, that when we pay our sewer bond, there are actually 4 different payments made in a year. A payment of roughly $43,000, I guess, a payment of roughly $8,000 in December, and again in June, I think. So twice a year, two different amounts are taken out of the account. And so when we were calculating the amount needed for next year, we lost track and thought we would have to make one of those 7,000 and some dollar payments that, in fact, we don't have to. So in other words, we were looking at paying too much money towards the bond. So recalculating the budget with the correct bond payment and loan payment data, we come up with a new total of $261,373, which makes a difference because $7,000 is a couple percent of that. So that would make a little bit of a difference in people's sewer bills.
Okay.
So I think it's important to adjust it, even if this isn't actually voted on at the meeting. I think it's good to have it accurate.
Oh, absolutely. And we know we have the kind of village that people care about, having these numbers be accurate and look for us to reflect that. So are you making a motion, Carl?
So I move that we set the wastewater treatment plant budget to the revised amount of $261,373.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to set the revised wastewater treatment plant budget at $261,373. Is there any discussion?
And stop sharing so that you can see.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. Discussion from the board or from members of the public? Okay, hearing none, it looks like we're ready for the vote. Rob, you're on the call. I don't think you follow bond payments. Those come out of our funds. You're okay with the budget as it's shown here? Okay, great. Just wanted to, since you're here, it makes sense to do that as well. All right, we have a motion on the floor, a seconded motion to set the revised wastewater treatment plant budget at $261,373. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. It's unanimous. Okay, Carl, anything else for us?
Yeah, I just have one more comment that Sarah and I are still working through some of the allocations of purchases to accounts from past years. They don't affect the current budget at all, but we want to make sure that anything that could be paid for out of the remaining grant funds are paid for out of the remaining grant funds. So we still have a little bit of homework to do on that.
Okay.
It doesn't affect decisions for the current budget.
Will there be anything that you need to have the sense of the village trustees, a vote of the village trustees on?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I know we have done special meetings before, but as Carl and Sarah both know, I am extremely eager to get this annual report to press. We're at the point where we really need to have that happen. So I'll be making their lives miserable. Okay, so that settles the budget for 2023 to 2024, and we are on to committee updates. So the Municipal Energy Resilience Program, MERP, M-E-R-P. I attended the MERP presentation, which was also largely attended by the Wyndham Regional Commission. It's one of the so-called BITE programs, 1-hour programs to make sure people are in tune. The next step is a walkthrough assessment or a more in-depth assessment of any village-owned buildings that we would like to have energy work done on. The state is pouring a great deal of money into these. And I've talked with Rob about the wastewater treatment plant. He feels that that plant is in excellent shape. There would be no advantage to doing a walkthrough. Rob, I should let you speak for yourself on that, but go ahead, speak.
No, the plant was built with, it's very well insulated. It's got the state of the art walls of 2 inches of foam on each side. So, I mean, they can walk through it, but I don't think they're going to find anything.
Yeah. Well, the agreement is one building. So right. I am wondering, given, and it's the usual situation. We dealt with this when we painted the fire station. We have a building. We know we are there for a few more years. We're not ready to pay for a new fire station. We're in some disagreement around where it should go. Do we want to do an energy assessment and try and make it more efficient?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carl?
I think the assessment doesn't cost us anything.
Nope.
It would be foolish not to do it. Now,
Okay.
they may come back and say it's going to cost you $250,000 to do anything, and then we may pause and rethink it. But I think getting the information is useful, and we should go ahead and do it.
I agree 100%.
Okay. So there's of course a survey form to be filled out, age of the building and so forth. Matt, do you have a lot of information about the fire station? If I get stuck on questions, can I come to you? No. Okay.
I'll do what I can do. Sure.
Okay. I have Louise's files and I'm still making, new incursions into them to try and understand what we have. So
yeah,
we'll
I don't know
that.
what I would be able to help out with, but yeah, if you have any questions, I don't have any.
Okay. Updates from the wastewater treatment plant. Rob? Anything we need to know about?
Couple things. Obviously, you got the bill. The Mobus came back for the UV system. Any questions or concerns about the BF contract? I know that was tabled for a couple meetings ago, but manager asked me about it, so I'm just asking you guys if you had any questions about it.
So Rick Holloway asked me to draw up a list of all the contracts that we have, and I didn't do it. The contracts and what we expected coming down the line. My apologies, Rick. That's just what happened. I think we're ready to pass it. I can't imagine what other alternative we have. Carl, does the current budget reflect the new contract for the Bellows Falls
Yes,
operation?
It reflects the contract that was sent to us. Yeah.
So I guess we have passed it in that case.
A 4% increase, I think, this year.
Matt?
So the biggest question I had was why it didn't come before the village trustees. I mean, that's a contract. Contracts are presented, not like we're going to turn it down and say no, but that's something that's important process is that it comes before the village trustees and we talk about it and obviously pass it, but
yeah, and I'm drawing a blank on whether that got emailed to me and I failed to forward it to you, or whether
I've never seen it. So
okay.
I believe
Ellen, it didn't come into box 243, did it?
And this is the Mobus?
No, this is the contract with the village of Bellows Falls. Yeah,
No.
I think it must have come to me, and that's my mistake.
Amy,
Yes.
pretty sure it came to you, and I know you forwarded it to me so that I could see what the figure was for the budget.
So I should forward it to everybody and put it on the agenda when that happens.
Yeah.
well, yeah,
Correct?
I mean,
Yeah.
any contract needs to be approved by the board. We need to see it before we approve it. Not that we're going to say, nah, give them the boot, but that's just kind of part of the process where we, maybe have a question or two that goes back to whoever's written the contract to us. It's just kind of part of the process.
Yeah,
Do we need to approve that this evening? No? Okay.
No,
And can we put it on the next,
I think we
agenda?
have approved it. I think by including it in the budget.
No, we
No?
haven't voted on it. I haven't voted on it. Come on. So
No,
put it
we-
on the next
we-
meeting. We should
Okay,
see
next
it.
meeting.
Yeah, we should have it prior to the meeting, just so we can look at it and, can't have a contract that we haven't seen and at
No,
least,
we've just budgeted the amount that we think the contract is going to be for. We haven't approved the budget.
Okay,
We're
well,
just,
let's not think that we have the right number. If you know what the next, year's budget is from, Village of Bellows Falls to run the plant, then that's
that's a number that's on the budget.
okay.
I'm just
So
saying,
let's just see the contract and approve it at our next meeting.
okay.
we set aside money. That's not the same thing as approving the contract is all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm going to look for the sheriff's contract as well and make sure that I include that one. I'm not sure what happened with that. Typically that comes much earlier and I just don't remember whether we put it on the agenda. Those are the two big ones.
Amy, did you get copied on the email I sent back to the sheriff?
I did. So the sheriff was asking for the contracted amount for next year and Carl provided that. Thank you, Carl.
I have
Thank
one
you.
other thing.
Okay, Rob?
We have apparently there's a tree that's on the property line. Apparently it's on the village side of the property line. That's a locust that's split. And the landowner that's adjacent to us is worried that it's gonna fall on his property. How do you want to?
Is it this would be, Ron?
Yeah, I believe so. It's on the north. What is it? The far
South
corner.
would be the river, right? North would be
it's
the
on-
other
it's
side?
just- well, it's on the south, but it's the south. Yeah, south corner.
So it's on the village property?
Yes, apparently it's on the village property. I haven't seen it, guys. It's on this side of his fence, but I don't know where the actual markers are. There's no survey markers or whatever, but it appears to be on his side we go around the tree to mow on the other side of our fence. So I'm assuming it's on our property. But I don't, and it's a locust and apparently it's split. I don't know if it's split during this last winter.
Probably.
Yeah.
So he's
He's just concerned that it's gonna fall and either crush our fence or his fence. He was just brought it to the guy's attention. So I'm just bringing it to the board's attention of what do we want to do with it? Should I get prices?
Is he still dumping debris on village property?
I believe so.
Yes. Yeah. Has been for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So kind of where I was going with it too.
So are you suggesting some sort of quid pro quo here?
Well, yeah. I'll walk down there and take a look at it and at least report back something.
Okay.
But
it's the tree. Yeah. It's the tree by the manhole on the outside of the fence on the south end of the plant.
Okay.
So
does that identify it for you, Matt?
Oh, sure. I can find it.
Okay. I am thinking that there was a honey locust that came down on Clark Court and two branches did some damage and the tree on the recommendation of the tree guy was taken down. Apparently they're very brittle. They don't bend. They snap. So
yeah.
Bring us a suggestion, Matt. That'd be
Okay.
great.
All right. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
All right. Anything for me?
I don't think so. Anybody?
No.
Ellen? Rick? Carl? Carl has something.
You mentioned needing UV bulbs.
Yep. Well, I just don't need them. I just wanted to, since we have $1,000 each year, I'd just like to buy a couple of them just to have stock of them. That's all. Because they're like 4 something a piece. So we have some, but just we put it in the budget for 1,000, so that buys us a couple each year. So
Okay,
that's all. Just before we end the budget, I'd just like to purchase a couple of them, but I don't know.
Now-
I noticed they sent us a bill for the MoBus, so I'm assuming we have an account. Which,
Are the lamps from Aquonics?
yeah, that Aquionics, yes.
Okay, because I see that, I had put it on the warrant, back on March 16th. It was for 6 lamps.
Yeah, I mean, that's for the whole system. That's for one system. But
Okay.
we have some lamps, so I just wanted to buy what the $1,000 would cover, which I think is like 2. So.
Yeah, 6 lamps at 2,900, so,
Yeah, so.
yeah.
Like,
So what do you say? You need approval, or are you just telling us you're going to buy some to have them on the shelf in case something happens?
and if I didn't realize that we had an account there. I thought we did, but then I thought they went back to we had to use a credit card type of thing.
I think
So-
Sarah's been working with them,
Okay.
so perhaps things are a little easier.
Okay. Well, if somebody can work with that and get 2 bulbs ordered, that would be great.
Let's leave that in your hands. And if you
Mhm.
have any difficulties, come back to Sarah.
Sure.
I know she's talked to Aquionics.
Come back to
Let's-
us.
Yeah, I will.
Okay,
If you can,
Alright.
yeah, if you want to order them and you need to order them, see if you can and have
Okay.
them bill us. If you can't, let us know.
All right.
Yep.
Very good.
Get me the bill.
All right. Very good.
Thanks.
All right. Have a good night.
See you,
Me
Rob.
too.
Bye.
okay. The report has just come in from 37 Main Street. This is the municipal planning grant. I assume I make that public. Any informal suggestions on how that happens? It's fairly long. I'll forward it to you as a PDF. It just came after I had posted the agenda, so I couldn't do anything about it. And we'll discuss it at the next meeting if that's all right with everyone. Just an update.
Sure.
Annual meeting, I think we're all set. Are there any issues in anyone's mind? We do have candidates for all the open positions. Carl has sent suggested nominators for those positions. Are there any other questions to be asked or answered about annual meeting? Carl?
we have a candidate for collector of delinquent taxes.
We do not.
Okay,
How many candidates do we have right now? Do we have enough?
Only the bare minimum.
Oh, okay,
And-
so we have 2?
And SMU's has said that she will run for treasurer, tax collector. Ideally, we would have 2 candidates, one for treasurer and one for tax collector. I've done my best. I assume all of you have talked to people as well. That's where we are at the moment. And that's a verbal commitment, but I've met with her and talked with her. We also have the plan to do a sort of manual going forward and to pay for some professional advice. So I'm going to bring you those details for the next meeting. We have one candidate for moderator, Guy Payne, who says he does not want to be replaced when he dies. So he plans that this is his last appearance. So we can start working on who should be moderator for the next year. Kristen Swartout has offered to run for what I'm going to call Rick's position, the 1-year position. And I think everybody else is re-upping. Matt, it's you and me, right? 2-year positions. We're the only ones that are up this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carl.
yeah, as Peter mentioned, we have in the past had 3 auditors.
Yep.
Our minimum requirement is 2. Do we want to look for a 3rd auditor?
Yes, and I think Peter said he is looking for a third, and as we did last year, we'll ask for that at the annual meeting. It's perfectly legitimate to run from the floor. I mean, we have no petition process, but we had nobody interested in stepping forward last year. As jobs go, it's a great way to break into it, but of course you have to want to understand the numbers. Matt.
Can we, I need a reminder of what the stipend is for the treasurer and tax collector, maybe at the next meeting, or
Okay.
we might consider, I know in the past, I think it's been a long time, but since those have been moved up and the amount of financial stuff that happens now with this village is increased 4, 5, 6-fold since I got on the board with all these projects, and so we might consider paying a little more for that to make sure that we can obtain somebody who has the qualifications and makes our meetings a lot more thorough and easier to follow along with the finances of the village.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'd like that at the next meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we are on to I believe we're ready for I know, no, we're good. Minutes for approval from March 13th, 2023. So Carl sent those minutes out. Go ahead, Carl.
Just one correction to the minutes that Amy identified Kristen as one of the unknown phone numbers, so I've added her to the list of participants. Kristen Swartout. And that's the only change from what you've seen.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
So Matt has moved to approve the minutes of March 13th as amended by Carl. I assume you meant that, Matt. And Ellen has seconded that motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising a hand. That's 5, so we're unanimous and no need to ask for a second. We are on to the warrants and bills for approval. Ellen, should I make you co-host? Hold on. Okay, you should have the ability to share now.
You guys see it okay?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the total amount on the April 3rd warrant is for $13,836.01. But Amy, I saw you sent me a couple of emails after the fact.
Yes.
Or not after the fact, before I
So
got
line number 23 was actually on an earlier warrant.
Okay.
It was on the warrant as the 2 individual invoices that you've given, right? 112,503, 316, and 406. So that has already been paid.
Okay, so, and I take the whole thing off, not half.
23, yep.
Okay.
That 1,100 has been paid.
Boom. Okay.
So that's a little better.
Yeah, isn't it? And then also,
the gloves has been paid with the credit card. This is a company that only wanted to be paid by credit card. So Sarah and Rob worked together. The gloves were ordered and we're just approving it. But in fact, we're approving something that's already been paid. But I don't think that's a problem. I just wanted to explain. So you note in your comments, I think this was paid with credit card, and that's the case. When we originally set up the TD Bank credit card, Ellen said, not Ellen, sorry, Sarah said she would prefer to hang on to the credit card. So when we need to have a purchase made via credit card, we go to Sarah to make that purchase.
Okay, so maybe I read it wrong, but I thought she had said she put it on her personal credit card.
No,
Okay, so then we're not reimbursing her. This is
That's
just the
correct.
charge. Okay.
Yep.
So then we go to revised total of $12,736.01.
we have a
Anybody have any
motion.
questions?
We have a motion to approve a warrant for the total. Could you read it again, Ellen?
$12,736.01.
All right. Is there a
Um,
motion to approve this warrant? Matt? You're muted, Matt.
Or is he gone?
I have
No.
a question.
Well, let's get the motion on the floor first.
All
So
right.
Carl, are you making the motion?
Yes, I move we approve the warrant for $12,736.01.
Is there a second to that motion? I'll make the second. And we are ready for your question, Matt.
There's two line items here to Margaret Vandenberg. I would assume that has to do with the park.
It
Yes.
does. So line item 12.
The
Oh, actually,
15
12 has been paid.
the $1,530 was for what?
Those are for the 2 cedar benches. So we've given the park committee approval to make these expenditures from the park funds.
Mhm.
In fact, one of these benches is going to be paid for by the family of Pearl Bonnet. And the park committee has made the decision to put plaques for Ryan Ostabo bench and a Pearl Bonnet bench.
Nice.
So that's what's happening. But that check has already been received.
So-
Yeah, this is,
I think, but we're just approving it. I'm sorry.
Right. So
Go ahead, Carl. Sorry, Matt. Sorry to interrupt you.
no, that's fine. So why is it in her name? Is this another?
She used her
scenario?
personal credit card to pay for it.
All right.
And we have the credit card receipts.
Okay. And then anchors to hook them down, I think. was
Yes,
another-
exactly. So they are concerned, the park committee is concerned that
They could walk away.
the benches could walk. So
yeah.
these are,
They do that. Sometimes they go swimming.
Aw.
They could
They-
use
They used to
Same
at the rec area.
the same logging chain that the ones at the Historical Society have. Those are anchored.
Okay, so that's just something that came out of the park budget.
yes.
All right, thank you.
Other questions on the warrant before us?
This isn't a question, but this is just an informational piece. This is a shared document, meaning that all of you have access to it. You, in the past, would get an email from me, and it was through Google saying to accept it. So if you haven't, I'm happy to resend it. And then you can view this anytime you like, morning, noon, night, 3 a.m., whatever. Because I wanted to be very transparent with everything that was coming in that we were picking mailbox.
Mhm.
So please, I can resend it out. Everyone's entitled to have access for viewing. That was my goal.
Ellen, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, this is very nice. Set up
Well,
nice.
I do want to show you guys too that when I scanned in all of from the post office, I'm scanning them and saving them as well. And again, you all have access to look at invoices at any given time. Again, 3 o'clock in the morning, be my guest.
Must
So
be-
I'll read.
So it happens to me from time to time that I'll get a question. Was this, has this been on a previous warrant? I think the last time was the Abbiati monument charge. It seems to me we spent an inordinate amount of time on that one. And because of Ellen's organization, it was easy to go back, find the warrant that it was on, see that we had approved it, just like that. So, I think the
It's-
system is
no-
working for us.
Ellen, can I suggest that you have it set to view or comment and not let everybody be editors so that somebody doesn't come in and change something on you?
I
Actually,
think that is
not
how
that
it's
anyone
set.
would do it intentionally, but
Yeah,
sometimes
Yeah,
when
I know,
you're,
I only have access to view.
okay.
Yeah, and I think it was just, I had changed the settings before for the people that were looking at it. And just also to point out, down along the bottom here, can you change? I move through the screens. So
Oh, yeah.
this is, what it is this is every single warrant that I've been involved in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
So
very
you
nice.
can all scroll through each, take a look at what they've been.
Yeah.
For history,
And-
so.
Just a reminder for everyone, Ellen is still providing paper copies of the bills to our treasurer for payment. So that is the paper trail that the auditors referred to, that we just heard about.
No, I'm sorry, let me just clarify that. I email scanned copies
Yep.
of the invoices to Sarah, and I CC the people that are involved. So like, for example, if it's for the wastewater treatment plant, if it's for the fire department, I CC Art. So everybody sees what has been approved on the warrant. They also have an electronic copy of the invoice that I've scanned in. And so it's for your records and mine. So the paper copies are all scanned.
But my understanding was that the last step was that the actual original bills went to the treasurer.
Mm-mm.
No,
No.
it's only done by scan. So
Yeah, 'cause that's
she
what-
has to print them out in order
Yeah,
to
or
have a paper record.
If she wants a paper record, she can do that,
Well,
absolutely.
she needs to have those records for the audit.
Yeah, and that's why they were scanned and emailed to her, so then she could actually just simply print them off.
So we need to make sure that that's part of the manual that we're doing for the new treasurer.
Yeah,
I misunderstood. I thought paper copies were the final thing that you dropped off along with the signed warrant.
yeah, no, that was the original plan, but then she preferred having electronic copies because then she could print them off as needed.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Are there any further questions before we vote?
Nope.
Okay, the motion is for the approval of the warrant in the amount of $12,736.01. All those in favor signify by show of hands. It's unanimous. Great, thank you.
I will stop sharing.
Okay, other business. We now have a municipal access portal, an MAP. This is a new thing from the Vermont League of Cities and Town. I am still working on getting the password. I think I need to actually have somebody on the other end help me because I keep screwing it up. But I will find out if it's possible to have two people, because it seems to me a little redundancy would be very useful. So if I suddenly have a stroke, I'd like somebody else to be able to go in and update our passive accounts or, whatever is required. Is that a question, Carl?
That's just a comment. I just set up an account.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So maybe we all have accounts. Did everybody get this email?
Who was it from?
Vermont League of Cities and Towns
No,
for a municipal account portal. And you wouldn't get one email, you get three, right, Carl?
3 or 4, I forget how many.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Until you actually log in and get the account set up, they keep telling you to do it.
Okay,
But
so
I
you
also-
have one, Carl, and I'm working on mine.
And I
So
had
that's
difficulty setting it up.
redundancy.
Oh, yeah, actually, I do have an email. Came in
Okay.
on Sunday from VLCT.
Yep. So if you want, go right ahead. I believe it needs to be specific to your email. I'm assuming that this is their new way of giving us access to their information. But as I said, yes.
If this helps at all, this is what I do at Chroma. I deal with all the portals, so I have a lot of experience with portals and keeping logs and keeping records of logins and all that good stuff. So I can help you.
Well, I have a password manager. That's both a blessing and a curse.
It is, but that's the right
moment,
way to go about it.
It's a curse. In general, I know I'm doing the right thing, and it's not the one that was hacked. So I'm happy about that. I have just sent in the information updating our fire and rescue personnel. This happens at this time every year. And we were advised that we should declare our lawnmower as an employee next year. So I will pursue that. Andrew Dunbar is interested in continuing as our lawnmower. It's a little early, but does anyone have an objection to that? I'll put it on the agenda if you like. He is the local teenager. He's old enough. He's responsible enough. He showed up and kept us clean all last summer. So go ahead, Matt.
So why does he need to be listed as an employee?
Because we pay him. So the question was, should he be a contract employee or a paid employee? And the suggestion was make him a paid employee.
Then you have to, you're going to have to do taxes for him, withholding and all of that. That's not something we're set up to do.
I'll ask.
Can't put it down as volunteer or something?
He's not a volunteer. We pay him $25 a time. I could lie, but I don't think that's the way to go.
Donation. If you put him on as an employee, we're liable, and we're going to have to be, doing a tax form and withholding, and I would assume employee's an employee, workers' comp, all of that stuff. So
he's covered by workers' comp. I mean, that's the whole point of doing these passive. We have to do workers' comp because we have volunteer fire department and volunteer rescue. And we've always covered them for workers' comp.
So volunteer mower with a donation. I just think it, yeah.
Tell you what, I'll explore it.
Some sort of question.
Okay.
You might want to double check the age thing too while you're exploring it then, because
right. If you're in high school, you have to have permission, right?
Yeah. Like
the big issue was is he old enough to run a lawnmower? And he is. That was the issue that was raised with me.
Per like OSHA and other, because it's a piece of power equipment.
Yeah, I think it's state requirements.
Okay.
So where was the recommendation from? The LTC? So I guess just chat with them and say, hey, what's the deal? We don't run payroll. And
yeah, so they know. I mean, they see my stuff.
Right. Yeah. Just.
But why employee and not, contractor?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. Other business. Jeff, did you come on with some questions? You missed our dynamic, exciting public comment, but.
Sorry, I'm just being curious.
We're both just listening in for fun.
Yeah.
Excellent.
This
Good
is
to have you
what
both.
Entertainment at our house.
So, Carl, I want you to note that's both the Manor McClartys. It's not just one.
And don't worry, we'll volunteer you. We'll vote you into something at the annual meeting.
Yeah. Carl, question from you.
Yeah. So question about the We Remember list in the annual report.
Yes.
Residents and neighbors who passed away. I just wondered if we should include my neighbor up the road, Jim Kelly, who passed away in November.
Absolutely.
If there's no objection to that.
So
Nope.
he is a Rockingham resident, not a
He's
Saxons
Rockingham
River resident?
Not Saxons River. The boundary of the village is right where the pavement ends on Hartley Hill Road, or about there. It's actually, I think, up the middle of that driveway where you used to live. And the town line, my property ends at the town line, and his lot was carved out of that property by my uncle when he sold it off. So I know he's in Rockingham, and I know he's not in Saxtons River. I know where the village limits lie for tax purposes.
So
I mean, so
Well, you could just note that it's,
neighbor,
local resident of Hartley Hill. I don't have any objections to that. He's been in this area for many, many years.
Rick, Ellen, thoughts?
Okay with me.
Rick? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
No, I'm fine with it. I mean, to me, this is an area where like the blurred lines I think are okay, like Paris Kern, people like her, who was here joining us earlier, people like Tim Morton, they're Saxons River folk, even though they're kind of outside of the formal village. So
Yeah.
I don't think we should nail them with a sewer tax, but on the other hand, recognizing that they're an important part of our community. And, Jim Kelly's the guy who stopped and gave everybody's dog a biscuit and said hi.
I was going to say, if you ever walked a dog on Hartley Hill, you knew Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay. I will add him to we remember. It's Louise Luring who's still compiling those.
Oh, that's nice.
But I'll mention it to her. And she is looking for a photograph for me. If any of you have a great iconic Saxtons River photograph, we still don't have one for the cover of the annual report. So she's out chasing one down.
Maybe something to mention to the BARC people that might be a good idea. I know a lot of places do it as like fundraisers and whatnot, but maybe they could like build a little brick patio or something where people could either people could buy them or we could buy the bricks for noted locals and have their names engraved in them. Like maybe that little circle of granite stones, can we do something like that if they really want to take this to like a new level and have it truly be a memorial park.
Yeah. I will mention it. They've already submitted their report, and this year all the volunteers are listed, which I think is great. You really see both in the Saxtons River recreation area and in the park and the fire department and rescue, of course, the number of people that really give a lot to this village. It's a nice reflection. Is there any other business? Are there items to consider for next meeting other than the ones we've already talked about? So the next meeting will be following our April meeting. I am leaving almost immediately. Do we usually have a meeting where we elect the positions of the trustees and we name and that's usually within a few days of the annual meeting. Am I correct?
it's usually the next regularly scheduled.
Next regular meeting.
Okay.
So it would be the May meeting. That would be when we meet as the board.
Okay. That's right. It's called the reorganizational meeting. So that will be May. Okay. I should also mention, I have been working with the town clerk to get an accurate voter registration list for Saxtons River. And it's been a little frustrating. I think there must have been some issues. The first one she sent me lacked Carl Ball, Amy Howlett, and Ellen Clark Lawrence, which surprised the heck out of me.
Troublemakers.
Yeah, and all of us vote, for heaven's sake. So, but I think we're up to a good one. At some place I've read that we should be posting those so that people can check to see that they are eligible to vote. So I this will be the third one that I'll put up tomorrow morning. I just got it today. So they are posted at the fire station and the bulletin board in front of the village market. Any need for an executive session?
Nope.
I think we're ready to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Thanks,
Aye.
everyone.
This meeting was recorded by Falls Area Community Television, located at 1 Hospital Court, Bellows Falls, Vermont. If you would like a copy of the meeting, our phone number is 802-463-1613, or email us at fact810@gmail.com. Falls Area Community TV, keeping government honest.